All right, it's Wednesday evening, and it's time for the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. It's weather for Weather Geeks. Heat rolls on. A lot of people are pretty tired of it. When it gets hot for a day or two here and there, even if we get into the mid-90s, a lot of people can handle that. But it's when we string together 3, 4, 5 consecutive or more days of hot weather, and we don't get much relief at night, that people start to lose their patience with it. And yeah, we made it 4 90-degree days in a row today, because we did tickle the 90-degree mark at the Youngstown Warren Airport today after a record high of 94 yesterday. For the month now, we're at 2.7 degrees above the average, and it's been a while since we've had a 4-day heat wave. It's been since 2020. Some people have gotten a little bit confused by some versions of this graphic, which showed that our previous 4 and 5-day heat waves was the stretch in July of 2020. But yeah, the 4-day heat wave takes the place of that July stretch back in 2020. We reached 5 consecutive days during that stretch. We haven't had a 6-day stretch since August of 1995. Now, our forecast for tomorrow is 89, and our forecast for Friday is 90. If we were to hit 90 both of those days, that would be 6 in a row, and that would be our longest stretch since that hot August and overall hot summer of 1995. All right, so the heat index was a story again today. Even though the thermometer didn't get quite as high as yesterday, the heat index was just about as high as yesterday. The dew point's way up there today, so the heat index kind of was in the 80s for a lot of the morning and then jumped to 91 at noon, and we were 96, 97 degrees for a handful of hours officially at the airport this afternoon. We've also had a scattering of showers and thunderstorms. So we did have a couple of reports of some pretty gusty winds around the Salem area, including some wind damage. We've seen some video and some pictures from the Salem area. Also got some pictures from the East Palestine area sent in to me on Facebook, just showing some tree damage there. That same cell that rolled through Salem did perk up a little bit near the state line and produce some wind damage over in East Palestine earlier this afternoon. Now, as of this recording at 7:17, things are winding down. You can see how, we're kind of seeing things fading away this evening. We're losing the instability as we lose the daylight here in the last couple of hours of daylight this evening. So while some places could still see a shower, perhaps a thunderstorm over the next couple of hours, most of us should be dry overnight. And we'll get off to a dry start Thursday. Now, especially if you have rain today, watch for some fog tomorrow morning. But I'm expecting more locations to get wet Thursday afternoon as compared to today. We've increased our hourly rain chances on Thursday to 60 to 70% for a few hours, mid to late afternoon, early in the evening on Thursday. I don't think every single location across the area will see measurable precipitation on Thursday, but again, more locations probably get wet than today. And the reason for that, this front that's kind of stalled to our north will wiggle ever so slightly to the south tomorrow, and that will probably increase the coverage of showers and storms a little bit. Here's one model depiction, late afternoon, early evening. And, if this is right, and it has the support of a lot of our other weather modeling, the coverage overall is just a little bit higher than today. What about severe weather tomorrow? Much like today, it's unlikely but not impossible that any particularly ambitious or rambunctious storm could produce some strong winds, and certainly some tropical downpours will be a possibility in this soupy air mass. Now, that front will wiggle back northward Thursday night into Friday, and I think Friday will be kind of a similar day to today. Some places could certainly have a shower or storm, especially in the afternoon, but I think more places will be dry Friday than will be tomorrow. But then the opposite is true on Saturday. We go back to a more active setup on Saturday. That's because another weak front slips our way, and there could be a shower around in the morning. Showers and thunderstorms may be a little more numerous as we head towards midday into the afternoon. The good news for the weekend is it looks like this front will sag and kind of stall out, or wash out almost, just far enough to the south that we should be in a little patch of drier weather for Sunday. So a good pool day coming up on Sunday. The weather modeling would suggest right now we're in the upper 80s with a good deal of sun. So pretty ideal pool weather Sunday afternoon. But if you do need to work outdoors, including doing some yard work over the next few days, you're fine in the morning hours Thursday. You're mostly fine in the morning hours Friday. But each afternoon, especially Thursday, there will be a scattering of showers and thunderstorms. Saturday is a day in which showers and storms will be around once again, mostly during the midday hours, perhaps into a part of the afternoon as well. But that front kind of washes out and doesn't give us much relief from the heat and humidity. Temperatures upper 80s, lower 90s right through Saturday and Sunday. The heat index a few degrees above the air temperature. You'll notice at the tail end of this forecast, though, towards the middle of next week, these numbers start to come down, and that's a trend I think will be here for a few days next week. in the lead up to the 4th of July. I showed you this animation a couple of nights ago. In case you missed it, our tune hasn't changed much with our expectations for next week. There's probably going to be a frontal passage at some point between Monday and Tuesday. Most likely maybe Tuesday morning, something like that. And that air mass that's coming in behind the front. Now, we're not going to mistake this for a mid to late September air mass. The dew points are going to go down into the 40s or anything like that, but the dew points will probably come down into the upper 50s, lower 60s. And we'll probably see a drier pattern emerging as well. I like the look of things for a few days next week, probably starting Tuesday afternoon, but especially Wednesday of next week and taking us into Thursday as well. A lot of people will have a short work week next week with the 4th of July being on Friday. There may be some rain chances trying to return at some point around the 4th of July, but for at least a couple of days next week, it looks pretty nice. And, a lot of people who don't have air conditioning, who aren't getting much relief at night in this current pattern with the dew points as high as they are, you will get some relief, I think, at night, at least for a few days during the middle and latter portions of next week. So we'll talk more about the longer range trends, including the 4th of July, coming up in future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for watching on this Wednesday evening. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you back here on Thursday.